Welcome to the PROUST Questionnaire.
35 questions giving us insight into what makes creative people tick.
So, hi, Caroline. How are you today?
Hi, Uli. I'm doing well. You?
I'm thrilled because we have a really wonderful guest today, a filmmaker who made an amazing movie. He's called Sameh Zoabi, and he made a wonderful film, which I think you've now seen, called Tel Aviv on Fire.
Such a great film. Yeah. No, and so tell me more about him. So he's
Amazing.
from...
I've known him for a few years, and he's a Palestinian filmmaker. He lives in New York, and this film is a sitcom that's really about a Palestinian crew filming this telenovela, and all of Israel starts watching it, and then his character gets caught in the middle at a checkpoint, really literally, and starts writing the script for every episode. And I just love that he uses the medium of this kind of afternoon family or night family drama to talk about the tensions that are in that country right now.
All right, to begin, what is your idea of perfect happiness?
Sunny mornings.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. It looks sunny today from your window on Zoom, but we're not in the morning. Did you have a good morning today?
Yeah, it's I think it's a childhood thing. I grew up the ninth of the youngest of nine, and I was the first one to wake up in the house. Like almost every day I woke up around 5, and so after a few times being kicked out of every room, the only place left for me is the balcony, and watching, growing up in the Middle East with a lot of sun every day. It was one of my favorite times to be starting my day.
Oh, that's great.
You're
yeah.
the last of 9, and they're first to get up. I like that. Nice. Sammy, what's your greatest fear?
I think the image of a dark sea has always terrified me. I think, like, I get melancholic when sunset and darkness hit the ocean, kind of thing. Like when I'm on the beach, I think this is like the moment that I feel the most melancholic. I feel like in dark and I don't know what that means, but
yeah, that's such an interesting kind of companion piece, though, to the sunny morning is your idea of perfect happiness. We always find that that's kind of an abrupt transition from one question to another, but those work interestingly together, I guess.
I know, I haven't seen the questions also, so it's almost like
you're on your toes. That's good.
That's great. A lot of our guests prefer not to see the questions first, and the spontaneity of it is really fun. What is the trait you most deplore in yourself?
I don't know, too sensitive sometimes.
Sensitive to criticism, to pain, to...
No, I guess part of that coin of sympathy, and it's just people's misery can bring me down a little bit. Like I feel very, and sometimes it's hard to snap out of it, but I don't know, it's just that kind of feeling,
Yeah. What is the trait you most deplore in others, then?
What do you mean? Like, it's a little bit of...
Just like a personality characteristic that particularly frustrates you, angers you, irritates you in other people.
Holding grudges.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
It's like I think I always feel like conflict is, it's easy to create conflict, I think, and I don't know, just I even if I get myself in trouble, I always like to get out of it as quick as possible. I don't like tension over conflict. But holding that and for longer is sometimes it makes me like, well, why? We can work this out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which living person do you most admire?
Well, I mean, of course, my mom.
Nice.
Is she
You know,
listening, do we think?
she's 85 now, and she's been always, for me, the big inspiration, strong woman, dedicated for her family, supportive, loved everybody with, unconditionally. So it's kind of, it's hard to resist growing up with such a figure in your life not to admire after all these years, and so yeah.
Nice.
Right.
Sameh, what is your greatest extravagance?
Yeah, I think it's having a nice meal, few drinks, and take a nap.
That's pretty modest for an extravagance.
Yeah.
If you want to keep going, on a breezy afternoon.
Okay. And the extravagance is all of that together, or is it the nap at the end of it, or is it drinks during the day? What's the particular extravagance about that arrangement?
I think when it comes to the meal, I like it to be like a good, nice social experience where laughter is an essential part of it. So it's a good time with friends and, having fun, laughing, nothing too serious,
Nice.
nothing too intellectual either, just that kind of, afternoon of a nice meal and a drink, and then go home and take a nap. Or at least if it's in my home, at least I can say, excuse me, I'm going for a nap.
That's great. What is your current state of mind, would you say?
Which is, I think, 80% of my time usually contemplative.
All right.
I like to, it's like my mind is always working, I guess maybe because of my field, but also like, it's a moment where you stay home a lot and not a lot of commotions, not a lot of people that I see, so yeah, that's
yeah. Interesting. What do you consider the most overrated virtue?
This heroism,
Heroism. Okay. Say more about that.
Just to glorify people's action too much to a moment of like glory and all of that. I think it should be natural. I think like it's a given almost, like what, when you do a good job, good work with, a good moral deed, I think, it should be given that's life. It's not. So sometimes, picking up one person and picking up one thing to glorify something that is such a basic human trait is sometimes, yeah.
It's interesting because we're living in a time where the baseline is so low that anybody doing anything reasonably not hurtful and insane is considered already an outstanding paragon of virtue. You're saying it should be the baseline. To be a good person should be the baseline.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, there was a press conference with the New York governor Andrew Cuomo that I saw a few weeks ago, where he was conceding that the federal government had done a few small things to help New York City in particular during this pandemic, and he said, kind of addressing President Trump, well, thank you, and I thank you again, but on the other hand, do I really have to thank you for doing your job? And I thought that was kind of funny. That it should be our jobs, as you indicate, to be good people, to do the right thing. So
and on on the other side, we have a president that every minute he wants to be glorified as someone doing everything great. We're doing a great job. I'm doing great. It's like.
Yeah, I think that was Cuomo's point, actually. Why do you keep expecting me to tell you how great you are for doing what you're supposed to be doing in some cases? But yeah.
On what occasion do you lie?
I don't know. I hope I don't. Even if I always, like, my mantra was always, you know, if you don't, if you don't lie, you don't have to remember anything. And I like to stay by that. I really do. I really try as much as possible. So I don't know. I mean, I could maybe sometimes to just avoid tension, drama, I would sort of, have a softer version of reality, but I won't call it a lie. But I try to live by that. I think, there's no room in my brain for a lot of things to keep. We need to empty some space. So.
I see. So yeah, if you don't lie, you don't have to remember to keep track of the lie and to preserve that sort of parallel fiction.
Exactly, because then it becomes like, you have too much, and then how could you create? How could you write new stories if you like your hard drive is already blocked?
Right. Okay. Fair enough. So yeah, if in the very broad scheme of things, you're lying for a living by creating stories, then it's better not to have to do that.
Exactly.
Take your time off. All right. What do you most dislike about your appearance?
Oh. I guess just recently I'm losing my hair a little bit. So I was like, I always thought I would have a nice, Elvis hair, Elvis Presley hair for a long time. And that is giving me but it's, I guess I have to adjust to that. But other than that, it's like as like everybody else, like your weight and how much you how much you allow yourself to have good sweets and stuff, and I could go back and forth on it depending on the weather. But
which living person do you most despise?
By name, I don't.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't. You know what? It's funny because I always like, at least for my kids, like I always say don't like, regardless, not just for people, for anything, even if they don't want to eat something, I always say don't say the word I hate this. Like this had never been a vocabulary that I like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the idea of I don't get along, or I don't like. So I think it's been like that. So if I don't like or don't get along with somebody, I tend to step away and not really engage too much. So I don't get myself into that. I sleep very well. Let's put it this way.
Both Caroline and I are filled with envy.
We really are. Yeah. We're trying not to dislike you for cultivating that very enviable ability.
That's a skill, an art, a gift, a blessing. I don't even.
It really is. But it's cool that it's something that you're consciously trying to impart to your kids. Do you see the results of that in the way that they talk about things and people?
I think so. I think sometimes I don't, but it's funny how with kids, like what you're trying to teach it, like you wanted to see it on the spot or the result of it on the spot, but like it's almost 2 years after, you'll be walking with your son and he's like, do you remember when you said this? And I'm like, oh, I don't even thought that really actually this went through your head. And I'm like, so these ideas, I think, I hope so. You've seen my movie. I like the middle. I'm not very like, I don't like strong opinions too much, to be honest with you. I'm not, I think why, it's like, so I like that zone where it kind of like, keeps it a little bit more flexible. I like that flexibility. And I think because, you can analyze yourself, but you can contemplate and self-reflect. Is it the fact that I grew up the youngest of 9, and that by the time I was 5, I had 3 fathers and 5 mothers and my sisters. And I can't have strong opinions because nobody's gonna care. So it's kind of like
nobody's gonna let you at that point, I guess.
Exactly. So it could be that. It could be so I think I love that kind of
I love that you just said it. Made me think about the movie Tel Aviv on Fire, because such central pivotal scenes are in this middle ground of the border checkpoint, where there's, if you want to have extreme opinions, this is a place. So there's Israelis and Palestinians, and everybody has extreme opinions. And your film takes place in this middle ground, both in the media through the sitcom or the telenovela, and in this space when they're negotiating something. So I like the fact that actually they're negotiating in the middle of this place where presumably there's only extreme positions. So the movie opens up a middle ground where they work something out, which is nice.
I think, that's why, like, I feel like, eventually every filmmaker's personality or every artist's personality will seep into the way they see the world and in their work as well. So even if I try to be extreme, I think it's not coming yet. I need someone else to write the script for me. So.
Well, yeah, it works so well in that movie, though. And Uli, you're right. I'm remembering how the way that Salam, the protagonist of your film, gets himself into trouble at the checkpoint is by asking a question of the guard about the meaning of the word explosive. It's like just a strong word in that situation opens up a whole can of dramatic worms that resolves itself really wonderfully. But yeah, so you feel like you see your own personality in that film?
I think in all my work, I think, there's eventually there's a hint of that coming somehow in different expression. I mean, in this film particularly, I guess, because that film was about an artist trapped in a political dilemma where, Palestinians wanted this expression, the Israelis want this other narrative, and he's like, how could you manage your life through this? So, which is like, it's a reflection of my career as well,
Yeah. What is the quality you most like in a man?
I like honesty. I like straightforward honesty. I don't like dancing around.
The question is, the next one is, it's very gendered. This is a questionnaire from the 1890s. What is the quality you most like in a woman?
Well, it's in my wife, passion.
Oh, nice.
That's great. Yeah, so she's listening too, maybe, we hope.
She's not, but she will eventually.
She will eventually. We'll send it to her, right, actually. That's a great answer.
She's a very passionate woman. I mean, she describes an apple or her career. It's just there's this, there's that certain passion to it. She loves what she loves, and I love that. And I think maybe because of that, in a way, it's working. Like I like the middle, but to be in that place where you have opinions and you're strong about it, you have to have I guess an extra level of passion that I think. Not saying that I don't have it, but it's just not as high.
Right. No, it sounds like you two are complementary then in that way. What is her career?
She's a school psychologist, and she's a PhD educational psychology. So
she deals with extreme opinions.
Yes.
Teenagers have a few of those, yeah.
Oh, I suppose so. I was thinking maybe that it was an interesting inversion, that you might assume that the artist in the family would be the one with the strong, passionate opinions, and the psychologist would be the one holding the middle ground. It's interesting to hear them reversed.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe we'll change careers eventually.
Doesn't sound like there's a need to do that. Which words or phrases do you most overuse?
Okay. I don't know, maybe okay, all right, agreeable terms, maybe sometimes. Which I replace with an expression that my kids like, now they're holding me accountable for, was like, which is
That is very non-committal. Yeah.
Yeah. Keeping that middle ground.
Yeah, they'll be saying, "Can I do this?" And it's like, what does that mean? Is it yes or no? That was my favorite term actually. Before that, it was inshallah, which is in Arabic means God willing.
Right.
And so when my first son, like when he expressed his feeling of wanting certain things, and of course, like I want the iPad, and I say inshallah, which doesn't mean yes, it doesn't mean no. And for a while, it stayed as an answer for a lot of things, and he never pursued like to want things more. And I say inshallah, and at the end of discussion. And then when my daughter came a year after, when she started like talking and wanting things, and I say inshallah, and she says, "What does that mean? Is that yes or no? Tell me now." I'm like,
that is a big question.
Strategy stopped working.
That's actually a big question for God. Like, do you want me to have this iPad, or do you not want me to have this iPad? God willing.
What or who is the greatest love of your life?
What is what?
What or who is the greatest love of your life? God willing.
Well, of course, I think you're my kids.
Yeah.
It's.
When and where were you happiest?
Well, I think I always seek happiness wherever I land. So I kind of like to create that nest of happiness anywhere. So I think it's never been about a place or. For me, it's a state of mind. Now I'm happy. I mean, the situation is not the greatest, but you have to find your zone in a sense. But I can't lie that sometimes it's waking up in my childhood room. It has an extra spice to it. Yeah, it's kind of like it brings a lot of, because also I'm away from home, and so every summer I go and spend my summer with my family, with my mom and my siblings, and this time I can't travel, and so yeah, I mean I would say that my happiest would be that moment waking up in the morning in my childhood room.
Nice. Yeah.
That's an especially apt answer for the Proust questionnaire, because Marcel Proust, who is the author who made this questionnaire famous by answering it, writes a fair amount about waking up in a room and having floods of memories come back from different periods of his life. And then most famously, his big book, In Search of Lost Time, begins with him waking up in a room and then gradually having this memory of his childhood that lasts for about 200 pages. So we always say to our guests that there's no reason to talk. We don't have to talk about Proust on the Proust questionnaire, but it's fun when the answers bring him back a little bit onto the onto the table.
Which talent would you most like to have?
There's two things I always say to myself, or three things. I have three things that I always want to improve and I wish that I have, which is drawing. I always wish, like as a filmmaker, I don't know, since I, stopped making films, and I always wanted to be able to do storyboards, like almost like professional storyboards. And music, I used to play music when I was younger, and I stopped. And I wish I could go back to it. So those are talent, like I think drawing and music, and languages. I was always fascinated with languages. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes life gets too busy, but I speak 3 languages. But I sort of Spanish and French were always. I was in situations where I always hear it, and I understand French a little bit, and I go to France a lot because of my work. So I always wanted to learn, Spanish or French. So, but that's not a talent, languages. I don't know if it's a talent, but I would say music and drawing is something I I wish to go back to somehow, or find a way to do it.
This may be the time to learn it. in this lockdown period. I don't know. I always think about this when people say, "Oh, this is the moment to learn the guitar or to bake bread," and I'm like, but maybe that's not my goal in life. So this question is actually, maybe I don't want to learn to play the guitar, but this could be a moment to learn how to draw better and make music again.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I mean, it's on the table. I mean, my son now plays the piano.
Was the piano your instrument as a child, or what kind of music did you play?
No, I used to play the oud.
Okay.
Which is like the Middle Eastern version of a guitar, I guess. Like it has like that big belly sort of an instrument.
Right.
It's called oud. It's so I played for like 3 years when I was a teenager, I guess. But
and do you still have this an instrument?
No, that was my biggest mistake, that I gave it away, and and actually it's funny because I saw a friend of mine, a musician here in Brooklyn, and I was talking to him, and I had that conversation with him. Is like, I said, do you know of anyone that has a oud for sale or something? So yeah, so it's on it's gonna happen, I think. I don't know when.
This is going to motivate you to do it.
Yeah, but I would love to. I mean, it's funny because now on YouTube and stuff, you can really a lot of things you can learn much easier than before. So.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. You can really, if you have the discipline, you can teach yourself just about anything.
Yeah.
Via YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. My 80-year-old father has been teaching himself the banjo, and he sounds really good. I don't know anything about the banjo, but a lot of it has just been, I gather, from YouTube videos and online tutorials. So we're rooting for you that you get to start that sometime during this prolonged lockdown. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
That's a good question. I never thought about this. What would I change if I think maybe I would boost my athletic abilities. I think I could use a little bit of that. I could, not to really work hard to motivate myself for a jog, or that it's like naturally sort of a part of my. You know what I mean? Like some people like, this is a priority. This is and I don't want to get there, but at least just almost there kind of thing.
A little more, yeah. Yeah, for some people that's true. I think it's. I was a college athlete, so for me it's very ingrained. So I spent over a decade of my life working out so much, and now I think it's very odd if I don't. So it's not that I'd enjoy it more, but I think if I don't do it, I feel just not quite right. I think it's just habit. I did it for such a long time that if I didn't do it, it feels like I didn't really spend the whole day doing what I want to do.
See, that's the thing is I don't feel guilty if I don't, and that's what.
That's probably good.
And then that's what I wish that I could change. That I would actually wake up feel guilty if I didn't go for my jog. And
yeah, guilt's a good motivator. I guess it is for you too, then.
Huh?
Is guilt a good motivator then for you? If you could feel guiltier about not working out, would that actually help?
I think so. I mean,
No, I'm spitting on the floor in superstition. I'd be careful what you wish for. You don't want to wake up too guilty. Just a little tad guilty.
I go to the, I go sometimes, to play a little bit soccer here in the park, and and I see people who come and they have their bag and they have prepared they have tools and they have their shoes and all ready for a solo ritual of exercise. I mean, if you don't tell me go do push-ups, I'm not gonna do it.
It's different people. What do you consider your greatest achievement?
Oh. I think it's maybe it didn't come yet. I don't know. I mean, I'm still I'm still working it out. I still have a few things I want to reach. I haven't got there yet.
Okay.
So it's too early to speak.
Yeah.
If you were to die and come back as another person or a thing, who or what would that be?
I would like to come back as an explorer when things are not explored yet fully. You know, like I feel like now we are in that reality of we know too much, but we not sure what's true anymore or not. And that spirit of someone exploring and document, I don't know. So part of that kind of exploring, I feel like, is exploring the world and is not as fresh as it sounded maybe a long time ago. Maybe I'm wrong, I know, but I would like to come back as Marco Polo or someone like, and someone who just went to a new culture, a new thing, and just embraced and documented. And I like that curiosity. Gets people sit on a ship for 3 months and to go see something. I like that.
Not know what they're going to find at the end of it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Would space exploration count for you at all? Are you interested in going to space?
No, I am not interested because I like where I know that people live there. I like people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. If someone told me there's like a new, whole set of humans living somewhere, I might go explore. I think, okay. We have an expression in Arabic. It says, heaven without people is not worth going to.
Oh.
Yeah, that would be pure emptiness.
Yeah.
So space without people is not worth going to for you.
No, not interesting.
Yeah. Whereas, Marco Polo knew he was going to meet some people sooner or later, I presume. Yeah.
I hope so.
Where would you most like to live?
I would like to keep what I'm doing, which is between New York, Europe, and the Middle East. I like that kind of triangle.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy it. So I'm kind of now, and when I retire, that's another story. When I'm like wanna sort of feel like accomplished what I wanna accomplish. I like sunny beaches. I love beach, and the image of a beach and warm beach is something that I like.
Right now, the 3 places. That's right.
Yeah. What is your most treasured possession?
My brain, I hope.
Oh.
Okay.
And I can still remember and recognize things. Is not take it for granted.
Right. You're right. If you don't have that, it's hard to think about how much value another possession could give you without your brain.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
What do you regard as the lowest depth of misery?
I think when you're unable to connect with people, and connect how you feel and engage, and I think that for me is very sad. When
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually, I think I can relate to that. The idea that you can't connect or they can't connect to you, but you're aware there are other people around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. What is your favorite occupation?
My favorite occupation that I wish that if it's not filmmaking, I like filmmaking. As an occupation, I like it.
So you'd keep that. And is there one, if you weren't a filmmaker, is there something else you dream about sometimes?
I mean, part of me, I don't know why, I always thought that, you know, owning my own restaurant, sort of a bar, cafe, I don't know, it's always been an interesting, occupation for me. I mean, so I always like that, of like to have my own place in a sense, but I think I can do both of them eventually.
You know, the director Francis Ford Coppola, he bought a winery, Nebaum Coppola, in the mid '90s, and initially it was just a silly project in a way. Everybody dismissed it. There was a sea captain, Nebaum, who started this winery 100 years ago in Sonoma, and then actually it turned out to become a success, and he makes wine. But he felt filmmaking and running a winery was all the same thing in a way. So it's now still Nebaum Coppola. It worked. For many years, people didn't think it would work, and it was just silly because he wanted everything exactly right. The way his films are, he was a bit a perfectionist in the winery, but it's a very gorgeous place, and there's a vision of Francis in the winery, which is strange. So you see it's created like a film set. It's very beautiful. So there's a combination.
I think so. I think I like that. I like that because I think it's also brings me home a little bit, talking about my father was a farmer. I grew up in the fields, watermelon fields, olive trees, So I kind of like, my image of my own sort of a restaurant would be like those, like almost like a countryside sort of like where you eat and people dine from whatever is around kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like a farm to table, what people.
Yeah, farm to table kind of idea. I like that. I think so. If I think about it, let's say I think about it once in a while.
What is your most marked characteristic? And we believe that this means, what do you think is the personality trait in you that other people notice first or the most or associate the most with you?
I think, the most, I mean, of course, I'm not young anymore, so you're aware of the things that kind of click in you with people. And I think it's always been, I think since I was a kid, that I'm a good listener. It's just, I'm not saying it just now, it's always like, if the teacher would come to my mom's house, you say, he's such a good listener. And it's just, but not in a sense of obedience listener, a sense of like observing, allowing people to have their space to say what they want to say, and give that space and that. Yeah.
Do you think that's partly growing up in a large family with lots of siblings, or is it more, do you think your personality?
I think it's a personality.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a personality thing because, I don't know. It's just, yeah, I guess it's a trait that you have with you, and you have. You don't know where it's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's what I think a lot of people would also comment on,
Yeah.
Do you feel that that's part of why you gravitated toward making films, that kind of hearing the way people speak, being open to other people's perspectives and stories? Did that
Maybe subconsciously. I mean, I didn't, I was in high school, I was a math major and physics. And I was really, I had the highest grades, and I was accepted to university, like, law degree and engineering. So I was in that sort of, I would say filmmaking came to me as, not by the way, it's just almost like I didn't know that that's what I wanted to do, but gradually I fell into, like, I wouldn't say like my statements of applying to film school was, When I was 7 years old, I watched Star Wars and I wanted to make a movie. And it's never been like that. I never seen Star Wars until now. So, because I'm not interested in space, it's just
again. Fair enough. But so you said it was more by the way that you came to filmmaking?
I think it was more of I want to try it. Like I always felt I belong as a kid, like, growing up I belonged to that kind of media world. I wasn't sure what that meant, whether it's an actor or a TV show or I don't know. I didn't know what it was. I didn't even know what cinema was or film or TV. So I had to it's a self-education almost. And that's when I did my BA, and it was double major in film studies and English literature. So I said, let me at least learn, see what it is before I commit to it. And then it's just, I start to enjoy it. I like the diversity of the films I've seen, and talking about being an explorer, suddenly I'm in this room watching movies that takes place in Italy, in China, in this. And I'm like, oh, I travel the world. I've seen it. So I think that part of it is really got me excited. And I said, oh, you know what? I think I have some stories also to tell. And it kind of like gradually grew through education mostly. It's like one of those things where you come to film school and your first screenwriting class and you say, well, I'm not a writer. I never written anything. I mean, my poems, suck. My whatever it is I'm trying to write is, it's never clear what it is. And so I just, but suddenly, you evolve into and realize, wow, actually I can do it. It's different. It's telling stories in a different way. It's people. I mean, I'm dealing with people. It's almost then it's suddenly in my upbringing and the art of telling a story, it's kind of combined themselves in this, in this expression. And you start realizing this and you're like, oh, you know what? I can grow with this and I can expand and I can flourish with it. But it happens, like as every movie you make, you say, okay, this is the last one. I don't want to do it again. And then it just... And then you get excited about something else. I'm like, oh, you know what? I still have one more to tell. And then it almost feels like this to me.
Yeah.
And still does,
Interesting. Yeah, I definitely feel, and many writer friends of mine have concurred on this. Uli, you and I have never talked about this, that when you're writing a book, you just think this process is so painful. It's so challenging. It's so exhausting. When this book is done, never again. And then once the book is done, you kind of forget all of the pain and the suffering, and you think, oh, I'd really like to write about this. So Uli, do you have that kind of resolve? Yeah. Just never again. It's too awful. And before you know it, you're back
doing something right. Yeah. But I also think and then you fall into it. Then you already find yourself kind of writing and taking notes and sketching out in your mind before you even start writing. So it's not that I sit down like this is the moment I start writing. Sort of, I've been in my mind already probably processing this idea for such a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I found very interesting about it, in a sense, like, conceiving the idea and is much harder than the actual physical writing of it. Knowing what it is, and what is that thing that you're passionate about, and kind of be able to articulate it is the mind working, and that could take time, even like, a movie, the idea of Tel Aviv on Fire, it started, being inspired by a film, a Mexican film that a friend of mine made. And that was like 2007, but actually physically sitting down and writing my film was 2013.
Right.
But I knew that idea was sitting there, but I never knew how to go about it. But that takes time, and I love that. Back to, the idea of being contemplative. I mean, that's part of it. Just you contemplate an idea until it feels vivid, and
yeah. And ready.
Ready.
Excuse me, I was trying to stifle a cough. We'll cut the part with me coughing. I was like, this is so good what he's saying. I hope I don't cough in the middle of it. Oh, please forgive me. What? One more. Thank you.
No, take your time.
What do you most value in your friends?
Sense of humor?
Yeah. Probably critical and especially important right now, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a must.
Yeah. Who are your favorite writers or maybe even directors? Because in 1895, when they started popularizing this, they didn't have movies yet. But so this is, who are your favorite? Do you have any favorite writers, or we would think it could include directors or theater authors?
I have to be honest. One of my favorite, writers is a poet from Nizar Qabbani.
Okay.
He's a Syrian poet, and I always loved his imagery, and I think he's a very popular. So he always. I mean, I have his if I carry books with me, there's always a Nizar Qabbani in my house. But he's a romantic. He's a romantic, poet, and so I like him. I like Mahmoud Darwish as well. For some reason I like poetry more than fiction.
Right.
I love imageries, and so I don't know. Growing up, I mean, because I grew up, when as a teenager, Nizar Qabbani wrote a lot of love poems and stuff. So it's kind of like, it's kind of it was encrypted in me, I guess, and as a teenager and stayed. I still love them every time I hear them, and some of them were made into songs and stuff. Whereas filmmakers, I don't know, I have a soft spot for De Sica. And I think it's because, I don't know, because the first time I saw The Bicycle Thief, and that was my first exposure to new realism, and I wasn't even sure if that's a documentary or fiction. I don't know, something so. And I think that kind of, I don't know. So since then I developed, I would say, a soft spot for Italian early cinema. I mean, not 50s, 60s even, and 40s. But yeah, so if anything, and I still go back to them, for some reason. And they had a very basic sort of a very Mediterranean sense of humor that I was able, to associate with.
Interesting.
The De Sica, I don't think I've seen this movie in 30 years or so, and I'm not going to make you answer, but I can't remember whether it's a documentary or a fiction film. I'm going to look at it again. I don't know. Don't tell me, but I don't remember seeing it in such a long time, and I have the great benefit that I forget a lot of things. So I'll see it again, and I'll be surprised again.
Yeah, I had the same feeling when I watched also the Battle of Algiers.
Oh.
And take it, I'm gonna take it for the, I didn't, this claim, whether it's a documentary or fiction, of course, is silly now to look at it. But from someone like myself who grew up I never watched cinema really. We didn't have access to go movie theaters growing up. So and the idea of a documentary versus fiction, it was not as clear. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know that it is two types of filmmaking. I went really, I would say, very naive into the world of cinema. I didn't come with a lot of knowledge. And maybe this is why I liked it, because I didn't have certain expectations. And it almost starts to feel like a journey. I don't know where it's going to lead me, but...
But I loved in Tel Aviv on Fire that there's two dimensions. There's the sitcom they're filming. So, that's the fictional piece in it. And then the other one you now consider and regard as real. There's real people, and then they're going on stage and they're actors. So in the film, there's the split, and then you accept the other reality as this is real reality. And then the other thing is they're just putting it on stage. And I love that because I watched it, and you kind of, So you can suspend this distinction. Is this documentary versus feature? You play with that. And then, of course, the fictional part has real impact on the real world. I really love that it opens that up. And you don't have to, as a viewer, decide, is this real? Is it not unreal? When I told Carrie, watch Tel Aviv on Fire, she thought, oh, this is going to be... I said, no, it's actually really funny and charming.
I was telling him before we started recording, Uli, I loved it so much. But also, I love the kind of, that little moment of in the writer's room where the uncle working on the movie, the protagonist's uncle says, oh, well, I stole that ending from the Maltese Falcon. and he's trying, and the young guy is trying to convince him not to use that ending for various very important reasons to him. I thought that was such a great kind of film snob moment too, that kind of, but rendered comically, the sort of pretentiousness of, oh yes, it was an homage to Apocalypse Now, or it was an homage to, I don't know, The Bicycle Thief. So that was really charming as well. It was. Are you working on a film now? I mean, lockdown is such a strange time, I know, for everyone in every profession. Were you in the middle of something, or? Yeah,
I'm in the middle of a lot of things now. Actually, it's I have my next feature in the Middle East is ready, as I finished it actually before the lockdown. So now we are in putting it together. So hopefully, as soon as the lockdown is finished, so we're aiming for next summer to shoot.
Okay.
Oh, great.
But I have that film, and then meanwhile, I'm contemplating other TV possibilities. I'm doing a remake of my film as a TV show on the Mexican-American borders.
Great.
So,
where the show is like a telenovela or something, or?
Yeah, it's a telenovela, but the character lives and crosses between Mexico and the U.S.
That's fantastic.
Yes, so that's the next. I'm developing now the project with a studio here in LA. So,
oh, great.
So that's one, and I have another book that I optioned. So sort of an American story set here in New York, actually, and so I'm adapting that as a TV show as well. So I'm curious about the TV possibility, I'm interested in exploring that. Okay, something I never done before, and
and it's a great creative medium now because of streaming, etc. So it's what's happening. What used to be TV is now this whole new platform.
Absolutely,
it's a series, yeah.
So I'm developing this summer. I'm writing on these ideas, and let's see.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, I'm so excited for the transposing of your Tel Aviv story into the U.S. and Mexico, and that's obviously really timely too. So we'll cross our fingers that you get to shoot next summer as planned.
Who is your hero in fiction? Is there, in film, do you have a character or figure, an imaginary figure that you admire?
I love Don Quixote.
Why?
Oh,
really?
He's my favorite. The ultimate dreamer,
Yes, right. That's interesting. That's exactly the ultimate dreamer, the ultimate character of fiction, right? Yeah. Good type.
Which historical figure do you most identify with?
I don't know. Is there I always admired Eisenstein, but I don't know. I'm not sure. Is it just because of his accomplishments? Because his birthday is the same day as mine, maybe.
Oh, do you mind sharing that birth date with?
I think it's March 14th.
You and Eisenstein, really?
I think so. That's at least my memory. And let me Google it, actually make sure. But that's every time I make a joke about it. I hope it's true. If not, I guess it's an imagination.
I have a friend who is very interested in psychic and paranormal phenomena, and she claims that there really is something to sharing a date with someone. So, yeah.
Born March 14th, 1879.
Okay, nice. So,
do you know a lot about him as a figure? Do you know a lot about his life?
No, just not particularly different than any. I think maybe a little bit more. Just because of science, I was a science major, I guess. Maybe his theories are, familiar with. Now it's 20 years since my last science class. So I don't know if I still remember as much, but growing up, I think it was like it's like he was the symbol of a lot of being smart and being a leader in what he does, and also a good man, I guess.
Yeah.
So who are your heroes in real life? Are they real life people now?
Oh man, I think there's a lot of heroes. Every day there's a new hero. So I think it's our heroes now are doctors and nurses, and tomorrow's heroes are someone else. I feel like that we live in that world now. Heroes are a product of a moment. But I think it's what reminds me that every time a new hero is born is when humanity starts to feel. When humanity is under threat, and we cling into that thing that brings sort of an answer and a possibility to fix the situation. So I think when the prophets came, they came in a time when people were looking for a hero. So I think that's why, I think there's no. I think it's a concept more than I just. I feel like I think it's almost like the concept of wanting when we are as human race, or feel like we are in a corner, we start looking for a hero, and so it's a concept more than an actual person to me. And that concept keeps changing, depends on where we are and
what we need to survive.
What we need at that moment, exactly.
What are your favorite names?
My favorite names? Jad and Layla.
Can I guess that those are your children?
Yeah, Layla is my daughter, and Jad is my son.
Beautiful names.
And Manal is my wife, and it's funny because she's Tel Aviv on Fire starts with her name.
Oh right.
Yeah, in that soap opera scene, her real name, the spy, her name is Manal, and talking about a homage, to name.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah, it's kind of nice when you show her the first rough cut, and she says, "What have you been doing this whole time?" I said, "Oh, it's about you, really."
Exactly.
What is it that you most dislike?
In terms of what, just be a little bit more dislike. There's a lot of things to dislike, and certain taste. Sour flavors. I'm not a big sour. What is that? What is that? Like sour gummies?
Drops. What do you call it?
Sour Patch. Yeah.
Yeah, I just can't stand them. I don't know, why. And I don't know why people like them. So I don't. Yeah. So I think the things that leave a sour taste in my mouth, whether it's food or a thought or a.
I actually like sour things. Kind of taste is interesting, but I always wonder why people are born so differently. And those things are really innate to us because siblings in the same family, they have totally different preferences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of you know, just the idea before you actually taste something sour is just you know, it's that's the most, like, the, you know, maybe after you have it is okay, but just the idea in between, you know, grabbing it, putting it in your mouth, and that 2 seconds are the hardest part that I dislike, because it's just like expectations of how sour it's going to be is terrifying.
What is your greatest regret?
My greatest regret? Wow. You know what? I really don't. I don't want to sound like too much, but I don't have one. Like, I don't have something to say, I wish I've done this, I wish I've changed it. Like, I think I as I said, it's, I mean, I don't know if we call it regret, but I don't like the idea too much that I'm separate from my family, like this distance. But then, you know, I built something beautiful in the process, so there's no regret in it. You know what I mean? But if there's anything, if there's any hint of regret, how could I have could win both worlds more often? And I think that maybe still an issue in me.
You both worlds, you're like the family you built in Brooklyn and the family you have in the Middle East.
Yes, I just, if I can get this a little bit closer and not feel like, you know, distant, I think that's something that if you call it a regret, but I still don't regret it fully, because you know, maybe it's one of those things you still feel like you can still work it out somehow.
Right.
So talking about the ultimate dreamer, so it's kind of like, it's not in the phase of regret, because I still see the light at the end of the tunnel that I can hold on to this possibility.
Don Quixote.
and you're actively looking for an oud for sale, so you can get that back. So there may be there's some hope.
Exactly. But I didn't. I see, it's funny thing. The oud story has the oud is it doesn't have as much of a regret feeling to it, because I gave it to someone I you know, that made a better use of it. So.
But that's nice. It's an instrument. It's meant to be played.
Exactly.
Right? To be played. How would you like to die?
I don't know, with the minimum pain to others, I would say. Like, you know, as you say, I like simple things. So I think I don't want my death to be too over the top. So just you live your life simply.
Over the top.
just keep it simple.
Middle ground, not an extreme.
Yeah, let's not make a big deal. Let's not, like, you know, cause pain and agony, and let's keep it simple.
I don't want to bother anyone.
Inshallah, okay.
Inshallah, you know, it happens in a.
What is your motto?
I mean, I think it is just. I think my motto is just always tell the truth no matter what. Like, just stick, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I like that. I mean, I said it maybe before, you know, like, you know, if you don't lie, you don't have to remember anything. I think it's genuinely my motto that I try to live by.
Yeah.
You know, honesty is you know, is a good thing. I feel like it's just keep it.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, is there somebody, we add this question, is there somebody you would like to hear from answer the questions on this questionnaire?
Yaman, did you talk to Yaman about?
Oh, I haven't. Oh, that's good.
He's roasted now. He's next.
Exactly. Yemane Demisi, he's an Ethiopian filmmaker, documentarian, a friend of ours. And so that's a great idea. So I can ask Yemane next. That's a wonderful idea.
Oh, fantastic.
So thank you so much. It was great.
Yeah, it was really fun talking to you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. The same. It was a lot of fun.
And we're super thrilled for your next project. Sounds incredible.
I know.
That's great. Thank you so much for doing this.
All right.
No, we were lucky to get you. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.